Okay, hello. Okay, so the topic of this video is going to be variable manipulation. Chris, if you could read the first point on page 14. The key to solving equations is to do the same thing on both sides of the equation until you have the variables isolated on one side and the numbers isolated on the other. Very good, Chris. And Craig, if you could read point number 2. Remember to follow the order of operations in simplifying algebraic equations. PEMDAS stands for blank. How many of you know what PEMDAS stands for? You've either never heard of it or you've heard of it a very, very long time ago. So let me put this on the board. So PEMDAS stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So that's the order that you do the calculations in an algebraic formula. Now what I'm going to do is, it's hard to remember the order of operations. It's also hard to remember the acronym for the order of the operations. So I will give you a mnemonic to help you remember the acronym. And that mnemonic is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So get that in your notes. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally helps you remember the acronym PEMDAS, which helps you remember the order of operations for algebraic calculations. So if you have this down in your notes, then you have the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally down in your notes. Okay, so can I erase? All right, so I will erase this. All right, so we have our acronym PEMDAS. So let's get into the first calculation. So Joe, if you would call out the formula that we're trying to solve for. So what is it? 2x plus y equals a negative 8. A negative 4x plus 2y equals 16. And we have to solve for what the value of y is. So, okay, so thanks, Joe, for yelling that out. Now, Michael, there's two ways of solving algebraic calculations that we studied in our text. One is combination, one is substitution. Which method are you most familiar with? Substitution. Okay. Well, okay, and you're like a lot of students, substitution is the method that most students are more familiar with. What I'm going to show you now is something called combination. And combination will help you get more points on the test because it's going to save you time in solving variable manipulation problems. So combination, it may seem like it's a few more steps or a little more clunky in the beginning, but if you practice it, it'll get a lot easier and it's going to save you a lot of time on test day. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll multiply the first calculation by 2 to make it more match the second calculation. So if we multiply the first calculation by 2, we come up with 4x equals 2y equals a negative 16. So look at that. This is such a great candidate for combination because negative 4x now simplifies out the 4x. The 2y plus the 2y leaves us with 4y, and the positive 16 from the second part of our equation is simplified by the negative 16. So by simply multiplying times 2, we're able to nicely simplify out this to 4y equals 0. And if 4y equals 0, then what does y equal? Chris, what does y equal? 0, exactly. So y equals 0, and that is option C. That's the correct answer. So this would save you a lot of time on the test. Boom, boom, you're done. So let's compare that to the substitution method that you're more familiar with. So I'll get rid of the combination one. We're back to our original formula. So the first thing we got to do is isolate x. So we want 2x equals, we subtract y from both sides, minus 8. And then we divide. So then we divide. And then what's our next step? We divide the both sides by 2. The cardinal rule of equations is that we got to do the same thing to both sides. So we want to isolate x, so we divide this by 2, and then we get, actually, I'll just say, we get rid of the 2, and then we have this over 2. So x equals a negative y minus a negative 8 over 2. So, so then we'll plug that value into the x on the second calculation. So we've got a negative 4 times a negative 8 minus a negative y over 2 plus 2y equals 16. So the negative 4, negative 8 minus y times a negative 4 over 2 simplifies into what? 16. Okay, 16 plus 2y equals 16. And then we want to simplify it one more step. We cancel out the 16 on both sides. And now we've got and then we've got 4y equals 0, and then y equals 0. So that is the way to go with the substitution method, but in many cases, like in this case, the combination method will save you a lot of time on test day. So the next step up is functions on my next video, and I'll see you there.